Rime of Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. It is one of the best known English classical poems. In fact, it's a ballad. Ballad is a poem that tells a story, and this story is about the sailor's sin, punishment, and redemption. This poem is a long poem and it has been divided into 7 parts. And because I'm going to take class 10th English literature, I'm going to take only first 2 parts of it. I'm going to take stanza by stanza and explain that and then move to the next stanza. So I start the poem. It is an ancient mariner, and he stopped one of 3. By thy long grey beard and glittering eye, now wherefore stop thou me? And though the first line is introduced by the poet, he says it's an ancient mariner, and he stops one of the 3 guests that are those who are going to attend the marriage. The guest is offended by the audacity of the mariner, and he questions him, "Who is this man with a grey beard and glittering shining eyes?" And he says, "Who are you, and how dare you stop us? The bridegroom's doors are opened wide, and I am next to kin. The guests are met, the feast is set. Mayest hear the married in?" He says, the wedding has started, the table has been laid, and I am one of the closest relative of the bride, and I have to be there. And don't you hear the drums, the beats, and the function has started? He holds him with his skinny hand. "There was a ship," quoth he. "Hold off, unhand me, grey-beard loon." I've stoon his hand dropped he. Now he starts a story. He says that there was a ship, but the moment he touched, and here the poet is trying to describe the sailor also. He's got grey beard, he's got shining eyes, he has got long thin hands. The guest says, "Hold off me, don't catch my hand, don't hold my hand, you grey-beard loon." And immediately sailor doesn't hold him by his hands. He holds him with his glittering eye, but he had an hypnotic effect on the wedding guest, and he could not move. He just stopped and listened. The wedding guest stood still and listened like a 3-year child, and with wonder he looks into his eyes and is mesmerized and waits for him to begin with his story. The mariner hath his will. So the mariner was successful and he continued his story. The wedding guest sat on a stone. He cannot choose but hear. And thus spoke on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner. So the wedding guest sat on a stone. They stopped to listen to his story. And he cannot choose but hear. And thus spake. Spake is archaic word. These are the old words which has been replaced by spoke. So thus spoke the ancient man. He began his story. The ship was cheered, the harbour cleared. Merrily did we drop. Below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse top. So the ship, they started on its journey, and they were cheered, they were bade well, they were given a farewell by the friends and relatives. And now it tells about the places that they passed by. Kirk is the church. Below the hill, they cross the hill, the lighthouse top. So you can be asked, what are the 3 places that went out of their sight? What are the 3 things that they crossed? The church, the hill, and the lighthouse top. So these things became dim they went in the background. And the sun came up upon the left. Out of the sea came he, and he shone bright, and on the right went down into the sea. So as soon as they started on the journey, they're talking about the direction. They are going southwards because the sun is rising in the east and setting in the west. So the sun is on the left side, and here you need to pay attention on this line. Out of the sea came he. So he is the sun. Sun has been personified here. So the literary device that has been used here is personification. He for the sun. And he shone bright. The sun is shining bright, and on the right went down into the sea. So they're moving south. Higher and higher every day, till over the mast at noon. The wedding guest here beat his breast, for he heard the loud bassoon. So The ship is moving towards equator, so they are nearing the equator. That's what it talks about. Higher and higher. And these are small picturesque touches that the poet has given to the poem to add attraction to the poem. Till by afternoon, the sun is overhead. The wedding guest is getting restless, and he protested his forceful detention, showed his impatience and displeasure at being detained. And this is, can't you hear that musical loud bassoon? It's a wooden instrument. So this is, can't you hear the instrument? The festivities have started and we are supposed to be there now. The bride had paced into the hall. She has walked into the hall, red as a rose as she is, as radiant, as bright as a red. So as bright as a rose, it's a simile here. Nodding their heads. So all the band, the musicians and the singers, they are nodding their heads and leading her. The wedding has started. The wedding guest, he beat his breast, yet he cannot choose but him. But he wanted to be there, but he was so mesmerized and the hypnotic effect the sailor had on him. He stood still and listened. And thus spake on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner, the mariner with bright eyes, shining eyes, kept telling his stories, and besides his protest, he sat there and listened to his story. And now the storm blast came, and he was tyrannous and strong. He struck with his overtaking wings and chased south along. So it was not very far off that they had gone. They were chased by a strong, violent, fierce storm. And here the storm has also been personified. He is being used for the storm. Was violent, was ferocious. And the storm took the ship towards south. So it took them to the South Pole. There was mist and snow everywhere, with sloping mast and dipping prow, as who pursued with yell and blow, still treads the shadow of his foe, and forward bends his head. The ship drove fast, loud roared the blast, and southward ere we fled. So the ship was caught in the fury of the storm. The storm has been compared to a huge, swift bird of a prey, or a winged monster which pounds the ship. The ship being compared to the prey. The storm was so close to the ship that the storm's shadow fell on the ship. And as a person, when he's running fast, he bends forward. The ship was also like bending forward, trying to run from the storm, but the ship could not escape, and it was cornered towards the south. It was surrounded by snow all around. And now there came both mist and snow, and it grew wondrous cold. The ice mast high came floating by, as green as emerald. Now it became unbearably cold. They are surrounded by huge icebergs of snow, and here and there, everywhere there's snow around. And the water's reflection is like green as emerald. And let me tell you about the rhyming scheme. It's A, B, C, B. So the next stanza now. And through the drifts, the snowy cliffs did send a dismal sheen, nor shapes of men nor beasts we ken. The ice was all between. So there were floating ice all around, steep sides by iceberg. They had a dismal sheen, but there was so much ice and so high icebergs that they could not see anything for far off. There was just ice around. They were surrounded by ice, and they were all sad and gloomy. Though there was ice, but nothing, no human sight, no animal, no bird could be seen. So it was all very distressing. The ice was here. These are the favorite lines of the poet, and they've been very famous. The ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swound. So these are very common example of onomatopoeia, a poetic device that gives sound words to the poem. It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swoon, like a faint sound. So there's ice everywhere. At length did cross an albatross. Through the fog it came, as it had been a Christian soul. We hailed it in God's name. So in this gloomy weather, with ice all around, suddenly there was an appearance of Albatross, a big, well-built bird, maybe with a wingspan of 4 meters. And through the fog it came, like it lifted their spirits and brought them hope. Like they were Christians and they felt that God has sent them this bird to help them out. It ate the food it never had eat, and round it flew. The ice did split, with thunder fit, the helmsmen steered us through. So they gave the bird the food. The bird was not accustomed to eating that human food. It ate that food and it hovered over the ship. And the ice, maybe it was the grace of the albatross, or the weather did improve. The ice did split and a thunder fit. And the helmsman, the person who's steering the ship, was able to move through the icebergs and take the ship out of that weather. And a good south wind sprang up behind. The favorable winds came, and the albatross kept with them. It kept with the ship only. The albatross did follow. And every day for food or play came to the mariner's hollow. So at the shout and the call of the mariners, the bird used to come and it used to play and eat from their hand, and it was a regular companion. In mist or cloud, on mast or shroud, it perched for vespers night. It used to sit on the mast or the sail, while all the night through fog smoke white glimmered the white moonshine. There was a pale light of the moon, and at a fixed time every day the bird came for vespers night. This is the evening service in the church, and it refers to the nine. Nine is very meaningful in Christian history. So maybe for the 9 days the bird came regularly and used to play and eat from their hand. God save thee, ancient mariner, from the fiends that plague thee thus. So at this moment there's a pain in the eyes of the mariner, and the guests ask him, "Why look thou so what has happened? What is the matter? Why this agonized expression on your face?" He says, "With that crossbow I shot the albatross. I don't know what went into my mind. That sudden impulse came into me and I shot the albatross." Now let's have a look at the various poetic devices used by the poet. First is alliteration. First example, "By thy long grey beard and glittering eye." Next, "He holds him with his glittering eye." Next, "It would work them woe." Next, "The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew." Next, "The furrow followed free." Next, "Drowned dropped the breeze, the sails dropped down." Now let's come to the rhyming scheme. AB, CB, except in the following lines. Lines 45 to 50, A, B, C, B. Lines 91 to 96 and 97 to 102, AB, CB, DB. Let's look at the internal rhyme. The guests are met, the feast is set. The ship was cheered, the harbour cleared. The wedding guest here beat his breast, cracked and growled, and rode and howled, while all this night through fog smoke white. Now examples of repetition. Let's see the words and phrases. Glittering eye, bright-eyed mariner, ice was here, etc. Water, water. Now in the sentences, out of the sea came he, went down into the sea. Now let's see examples of personification. Sun has been personified as he. Storm blast, it has also been personified as man, he. Overtaking wing, bird. Some important metaphors: Mary, minstrelsy, overtaking wings, snowy cliffs, vespers 9, the furrow, the very deep. Now some important similes: like a 3 years child, red as a rose, as who pursued with yell and blow, like noises in a swound, as idle as a painted ship, like witches' oils. This was part 1 of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. To watch part 2, subscribe to the Kaur Academy and you'll see more of my videos and more of the explanation of the various chapters.